Cardboard Boxes by Taylor Murch. A bell hangs over the door of a little mom-and-pop store called Fate, which is run by the couple that runs the universe. The bell chimes whenever a person walks in, and it quiets by the time they step up to the counter and say, "I'm here to pick up a delivery for," and then they say the name of a baby not yet born. But Ma or Pop, whoever's in that day, already knows. They bustle around the shop and they search with the tips of their fingers and the bottoms of their hearts until they find it, a little brown parcel with baby's name on it. Because what the future has in store is a literal phrase, and the thing that will dictate the length of their days is protected by cardboard sealed up with tape. In this one, Ma holds is fame. In the next will be beautiful. There are shelves lined with making a difference, standing up for what's right, a good friend, and secret keeper. Hundreds of boxes contain the heart of lover or the strength of fighter, and sometimes the two are manufactured together. There's a row of boxes packaged with fall from grace. No second chances. And that box, over there, has something inside called "What a Shame." One day a man entered to pick up a delivery, and Ma went into the back and returned with a box labeled Perfection. The box was delivered safely to what would become a baby girl, and when she was delivered, the first hands to hold her were holding a girl who had, without asking, been handed perfection. And out of every box that she received for the rest of her life, from the one Santa brought down the chimney to the velvet box from the lover down on one knee, not a single one could compare to when the first minute of her life took the box from that store called Fate, because Ma and Pop carry the only things that are given out for free and come with a price. On both sides of 20 birthdays, she embodied the words stamped on that box, because this girl, she is beautiful. By the contours of her mind and the work of art of her face, she is well-mannered and well-dressed. She is intelligent and gifted in everything she pursues. My God, this girl has a mouth on her, but one that speaks to inspire and kisses like a dream. She clears tensions the way cold air clears your mind, and she dances like nobody you've ever seen. You may say she's a lot like the sun, and that doesn't just mean her smile is radiant or she brightens your day, but that you'll feel the differences she leaves behind, the better in people she knows how to find, in the same way the sun pulls colors out from the sky as it sinks past the sea. She's a lot like you, with goals that at times seem just out of reach, and a love for that sunset that falls on the beach. She'll leave marks bigger than her lipstick on the rim of a coffee mug, and like dog-earing a book, she'll mark a nice moment to return to, and it becomes a good memory. But no one ever told her that something beautiful is allowed to feel pain, so when insecurities latched onto her, they felt like disease. She didn't believe depression fit in the shoes of their idea of perfection, and unlike a little girl teetering in her mother's high heels, she couldn't face the fact that she felt too small. So she shoved these problems in a place no one would see. Because this girl lives her life in those square inches of fate, and my God, this girl will spend years fighting the self-hatred that gets caught in the drain pipes of her consciousness whenever it rains. She'll breathe deep, and she'll sleep, and she'll seek out a cure, but though Mama taught her to stand in a doorway in an earthquake, the threshold that divides the way she feels and the way others feel for her is no longer the safest place to be when her world is shaking. The truth is, they intended no pain when they gave her a box marked with her name in that single word, perfection. But even before she can count to 10 or spell PERFECTION, she contained herself in that box that once sat on that shelf in Ma and Pop's store. It took her years to discover that it was not meant for her to put herself into it, but to let it all out, because that box wasn't taped up with just her beauty and wit. Inside it were songs that humbled her soul, and the smell of real pine when trimming the tree, long naps on the couch, Girl Scout cookies in spring, In there was love in every brand that they make, and ribbons of reminiscing tied around good times. There were a handful of nights with heart-skipping fireworks and dinner parties with homemade pies and stories made fresh from now. There was also every good intention that just went awry, and the courage to confess to each one of her lies. There were stones of regrets polished into life lessons, beside them at least 1,000 mistakes. And when all of that was out into her life, there was an empty box, ready to be made into a rocket ship or a fort or a safe place to keep dreams, because cardboard boxes are perfect for these things.